That's funny. The file I opened is not coming up on the share screen. Another file is. Must have somehow closed it by mistake. Thanks. Okay. Share screen. Here we go. So I'm going to begin with chanting the Refuges and Precepts. So people who are here, please feel welcome to join me in chanting out loud. And if you're on Zoom, in the Zoom room, Zoom meditation room, please also feel free to chant with me, and keep your mic on, because otherwise it'll be too chaotic in the sound. And as I chant the precepts, I'm going to pause for a few seconds after each one to just give us time to contemplate what these precepts are, what each one is. So not only in the iteration that we have here of, which is to refrain from, I undertake the training to refrain from doing harm, but also taking a moment to contemplate, and when I'm refraining from doing harm, what might be the positive, the constructive, beneficial expression of, for example, not taking life, but supporting life, and so on. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami. Dhammam saranam gacchami. Sangham saranam gacchami. Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami. Dutiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami. Dutiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami. Tatiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami. Tatiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami. Tatiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami. Panatipata Veramani Sikapadam Samadayami. Adinadana Veramani Sikapadam Samadhyami. Kamesu Michachara Veramani Sikapadam Samadhyami. Musawada Veramani Sikapadam Samadhyami. Sura Maraya Maja Pamadatana Veramani Sikapadam Samadhyami. Idam nisilang maga phala nyanasa pachayo hotu. Sadhu, 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 anumodami. So please take a posture for meditation. So whatever that posture is that will support you best right now, whether it's sitting on a cushion or a bench or a chair or standing or lying down. So we try to take a posture that is easeful and at the same time alert. So, so easeful enough so that we can find some stillness in the body. Because if the body is very challenged in the meditation posture, the whole sitting can be about working with pain, which is not necessarily that helpful. Sometimes there's pain in the body regardless of the posture, so we work with it as skillfully as we can. And not adding to the likelihood that we will need to work with pain is a good idea. So finding this connection we have with the earth, which we always have, the earth supporting us, the earthiness of the body resting on the earth, the felt solidity that supports us. And at the same time bringing an aliveness to the posture, lifting through the spine, letting the spine be energized, the neck lifting, the neck straight and the chin slightly tucked in. Even if you're lying down, you can find a way to bring a kind of an energy and aliveness to the posture. That central axis aligned, and feeling a sense of the core of the body in alignment from what's known as the hara, or the secret chakra in the Tibetan tradition, right through the crown of the head in alignment. The shoulders straight and relaxed, and hands resting on the lap or just in whatever way feels comfortable for you. Let the breath be natural. The body breathing in whatever way it's unfolding in this moment. And notice if the breath feels in some way constricted or tight. And just bringing mindfulness, that non-judgmental, kind attention to what is happening in this moment with the breath, with the body, can enable, if there's contraction, can enable us to just relax a little bit. Let go of the holding. So I invite you to explore inhabiting the whole body. So a sense of the body being filled with awareness. It can be helpful to have a sense of the whole body breathing, not just the breath being experienced in a particular narrow, defined place like the nostrils or the chest, but a sense of the breath moving through the whole body, the skin breathing, the energy of the breath filling the body, and then emptying out. Not necessarily taking big, deep breaths. Just opening the attention, widening the attention to feel the whole body. You might notice some place in the body where there's a contraction or tightness. Or as you settle in and your attention becomes more established, you might notice the breath to be in some way wavering or tight. So without a sense of needing to fix anything or that anything's wrong, just bringing that into the sphere of your awareness with kindness and without judgment. In meditation, very often the instruction is given that if the mind gets caught up in thinking, to let go and come back to just resting attention in the body, in the breath, in the inhabiting of the whole body. Today, we're exploring speech. We're exploring the precept on speech, unskillful speech, skillful speech, training the mind to relinquish harmful speech. And in meditation, we do a lot of speaking to ourselves. Usually anyway, most of us. Words come, thoughts come. And with that same non-judgmental, kind, non-fixing kind of attention, when you notice that thoughts are running through the mind, just notice, what kind of thought is it? You might just put a little label on it. It might be thoughts of self-judgment. It might be rehearsing something to tell somebody. It could be a conversation from the past, remembered, or a conversation projected into the future, imagined. Maybe it's accompanied with different emotions or images. Maybe it's angry. Maybe the speech is full of anger. Maybe the speech is full of love or wanting. Whatever it is, it's just coming up. You didn't make that thought happen. It just popped into consciousness, coming from causes and conditions. So just with as much equanimity as is present, calmly, kindly, notice it. Don't get caught up in it. Don't jump on that train of thought and travel away to some unknown destination. Just notice. You might just say thinking, or you might say planning, or remembering, or rehearsing, or self-judgment, or angry speech, or wanting speech. And then once you've noticed it, come back to the quiet of just this breath, just this body, perhaps just hearing a sound. So we're just curious about what kind of speech is happening when we stop and we sit and we're not distracting ourselves, and we're not moving around or doing anything, we're just sitting. What kind of speech comes into the mind? Just being curious, interested, without judgment, without fixing. As we sit and notice how words arise in the mind as thoughts and how they pass away, as we bring our mindful attention to them, become aware, bring your attention also to the spaces between the words, between the thoughts. The spaces where there's silence. You may notice that although there are not thoughts, there's awareness. Awareness without dividing the experience into something, dividing the experience into it's this and not that. There can be an awareness which is open and inclusive and whole, which is just this, the this being the everythingness, without words. And if words come, not resisting them, just allowing them to arise, to be known, and to pass away. As we come to the end of the sitting or the formal practice, let's bring to our awareness, touch into our awareness, the goodness, the blessing of this practice that we can experience in the body energetically. Perhaps we experience it as the body becoming more calm, the mind becoming more calm, the heart opening. A thought of kindness for ourselves, for others. The insight into how everything is arising and passing away. Such a powerful and valuable thing to see, to deeply understand, not just as a concept, but as a direct experience. These are blessings that we can appreciate, and we can also offer to the life around us, to those beings that are in our hearts and minds, perhaps especially those who are struggling in some way, experiencing a lack of safety, the people in Ukraine, the people who have lost their homes, who are fleeing, who have died or who have lost dear ones or are hurt. Also, in my heart and mind are the indigenous leaders who are in Rome now, indigenous leaders and residential school survivors who are meeting the Pope with an intention to bring about reconciliation. Such a skillful, beautiful intention. And may that be realized, may that be blessed. For ourselves, in whatever ways we're feeling not enough, we're feeling wounded, frightened, alone. To touch into this deep view that we're never alone. We're always connected. And just allowing, in the next few moments, whoever comes into consciousness, comes into the heart-mind awareness, to share these blessings of your practice. May our practice and our lives serve the happiness, well-being, and liberation of all beings. So I'm going to give a short Dharma talk in a minute, but please just take a minute if you like to shift your posture. You could stand up and stretch. So we're just, since we only have a few minutes left, we're not going to take a long time for this, but just so you can feel comfortable in the talk. So I'm going to share the screen. And I'm going to scroll up to the fourth precept, which if you're just if you're new to this process, we've been working with the precepts really since the beginning of the year. And so if you haven't seen this before, what I've done here with these different colors is to kind of integrate or combine the precepts from three different traditions. So in the first, in purple, is from the early Buddhist tradition, which are the ones we chanted in the beginning of the session, and they are phrased in a very simple way, and in a way which is talking about restraint, so self-restraint, not harming. So it's the kind of the prohibitive of or the exercising restraint part. And then the blue one, and here the people in the Zoom room have the advantage. So yeah, they can see it, but I'll read it out loud. So the first one is, I undertake the training to refrain from false speech. And then the second is Zen. In the Zen tradition, there are many Zen iterations of the precepts, but I took the Zen peacemakers because I like how they express the precepts. And I'll read it out loud. Peacemakers throughout all space and time, listen and speak truthfully and compassionately. This is the practice of non-lying. I will compassionately and constructively speak the truth as I perceive it, purposely deceiving no one. So there's a lot in there, isn't it? So it starts off with a positive expression to listen. First of all, listen. So that's not even the speaking, it's the receptive to listen. So we can think of internal listening and listening to the life around us, what's happening, who are we with? To listen and speak truthfully and compassionately. So those wisdom and compassion, those balancing, those awakening factors. This is the practice of non-lying. So the practice of non-lying is expressed according to this iteration of the precepts through what we just spoke about. And then the kind of the pledge, the promise. I will compassionately and constructively speak the truth as I perceive it, purposely deceiving no one. And then the third in red is from the Burn Buddhist, the Burn Tibetan tradition. So taking the early Buddhist, the Zen, and then the Tibetan lineages, and in this, one should not lie. Rather, one should speak the truth. So it's simple. One should not lie. Rather, that one should speak the truth. Simple and direct, including both aspects, the negative, not to, and the positive, one aspires to, one intends to. There's more on that page, which are taken from the Zen and the Tibetan traditions, which we're going to spend a few weeks on this precept on not lying and speaking the truth. So I'm not going to go into that. We'll work with it next week. So I did share the link in previous sessions, and I don't want to do that right now because we're being recorded, but at the end of the session, I can share the link again to where I have these precepts all written out in living color. So not lying, not deceiving. And that word, deceiving, is, I think it's a word that I found as I was reflecting on these teachings in preparation, to contemplate, what is this deception? How does it happen? How does it arise? Where does it come from? Where does the impulse to deceive arise? There's an expression, one can't deceive another without deceiving oneself first. So what's the self-deception that happens when we feel this impulse to deceive another? And in some way, it has to do with this construction of me and mine, of this separate self, of I'm separate from you. And it's not denying that there is a relative separation where we have different bodies, but we are so intertwined in this web of life. And the deception which would cause me to lie is I'm really caught in that sense of separateness. And there's something that I feel that I need for myself, that the truth is either inconvenient or is going to get me into an unpleasant situation that I want to avoid. For me, this precept is one of a very important one in my own path. I think I'm just going to stop the share for now. This is because as I was a young person growing up, and I felt that a lot of the things that I was experiencing in my home, in my from my parents, were unfair, arbitrary, not really seeing. I didn't feel seen. I didn't feel received. And I'm saying this knowing that so many people have this experience, to a greater or to a lesser extent, and maybe in their families of origin, maybe in other kinds of relationships. And so it became habitual that I would conceal and I would deceive. And I actually, as I moved into adolescence and was living, moved into living my life, and I lost track of what was true. It was very confusing. I became very confused. I lost track of just that sense of what is my experience of this and what seems true to me. And at a later stage in my practice, I needed to retrieve that. And it was such a relief and a sense of coming home, a sense of coming home to myself. Not that I always, knowing the truth of this moment is not the same as knowing what's right and wrong. The truth of this moment can be very complex, and it can be very encompassing and very wide, and even have many, many elements that we don't really understand how they fit together. But we can know that we are present with them and that we are open to receiving, to listening, to hearing what is. So there's so much to talk about with regard to this, and and we're going to in just a few moments. I just looked at the time and I realized that I need to bring this little piece, the little mini Dharma talk, to a conclusion, and then those who can stay, we will divide into triads, and we're going to work with this, work with our experience. So so mindfulness, just to end with this kind of emphasis that the development of mindfulness is so important to all of these precepts, to recognizing, what's my intention in this moment? Am I feeling I want to avoid something? And is that, just as the thoughts came up, sometimes the words just come out of our mouths. And so the cultivation of mindfulness is so important, to have that space of awareness before we speak, and to ask ourselves, is this true? Is it kind? Is it useful? Those are three good questions to ask. Is this true? Is it kind? Is it useful? Before we speak. So I'm going to end the talk, and let's end the recording.